About 2 weeks ago, I told myself I'm gonna write a book. So the first week after having that idea, I built a whole outline, got a plot, got characters, a name of the book, and then I started writing. Every week I have a certain word count to hit, and this week is 5,000 words. Now trust me, I'm gonna continue writing, but before we start, I'm gonna show you where we're at. 3,609 words. This is absolutely gonna be one heck of a journey, so hopefully you'll stay along for the ride.
As a book editor, some things are an automatic pass. If your book is 470,000 words long, bye. If you've written the entire book in bold, bye. If your entire book is one gigantic wall of text, and I'm talking about no paragraph spacing whatsoever, bye. That's all.
Should have been a rock star, but he didn't have the money for a guitar.
Wonderland, how do you get to Wonderland? Over the hill or underland, or just behind a tree? When clouds go rolling by,
and I'm gonna serve exactly what you are. Cut!
I'ma beat my snare machine cause I'm a fucking diva.
I swear, I'm not a murderer, I'm just a writer. No, Google, that's not what I meant. To understand your characters, I find it helpful to ask random questions, like, who would they vote for in an election? This forces you to put them into boxes. Now, of course, your characters are more nuanced than that. But this exercise helps you get at their core values, understand the differences between them, and how they would respond in any given circumstance.
If I didn't use these 5 writing websites, then this never would have gotten written. So first up is Scrivener. I know it's so widely recommended already, but I was writing in Google Docs during college and my professor recommended me this and I just never went back. It's so great because you get to organize everything, color code each draft you do. You never have to delete any edits that you make, which is so important. And it's just really the go-to for every part of the process, whether you're outlining or diving into that draft or editing, it's just the way to go. Next up, we have this Reedsy character name generator. I kid you not, I use it for every single character name that I generate because I am a nerd and I want every name to mean something that I use, and it's so great. Next up is Grammarly for obvious reasons. It's just always really good to double check your work. Center is where it's at for finding more names. And Office Depot for printing.
Stupid. What? Everyone feels stupid. Who cares? You feel stupid? Yeah, I did. And then I just chose not to feel stupid. 90% of life is confidence. The thing about confidence is no one knows if it's real or not.
Authors, here's everything you need to do before you start writing a draft of that next book. For context, I'm a book editor. I've worked with hundreds of authors, and I have seen so many projects where I just know if the author had done some of these things before they started writing, the entire process would have been so much easier for them. Let their mistakes be your lessons, and trust me, I know this is annoying. We're writers, we want to sit down and write. Researching and outlining and all of this stuff, it does not feel nearly as romantic or fulfilling to us as the actual writing process, but trust me when I tell you, your entire process is going to be easier, quicker, and probably cheaper as well if you do these things. First thing you need to do is outline your book. The more detailed, the better. Your outline is going to serve as your roadmap for your entire writing process. From the editor's perspective, it's really going to help you ensure that every character, every scene is really intentional, and every scene is kind of a building block moving into the next one. When authors don't outline, I can totally tell because it reads kind of messy, and there ends up being a lot of like, all right, do we really need this scene? What is this character's purpose in this story? Or plot development and character development have weird pacing issues because the author themselves didn't know where they were going. So if you want to avoid having a really messy, difficult time editing between the first and the second draft, especially, an outline is really going to help you be intentional about every single thing that goes into your book. It's also important to say that if your book idea requires research, this is the step that you should also be putting in that research and including all of the relevant information and links and sources in your outline so that you can reference that information while you're writing. Next thing is you need to decide what point of view you're writing from and fully understand the uses and limits of that point of view. As an example, a lot of people default to third person limited. That means we're in third person, you're saying he does this, she does that, but we're seeing the inner world and the thoughts of one specific character, which is usually the protagonist. That's the sense in which it is limited. So when you're writing this point of view, which a lot of people do, you need to understand that the reader can only have the information that the protagonist has. And if the protagonist does not have that information, you need to find creative ways in your plot to get that information revealed to the protagonist in order for you to reveal it to your reader. You cannot suddenly jump out of your third person limited perspective and go into someone else's mind. This is one of the biggest things I actually see in novels that I edit, is that the author is unclear on what their point of view actually is and how it's used. The next thing you're going to want to do, even before you start writing, is to get a sense of what your publication plan is. Generally knowing what you want to do is going to give you the time to prepare. So as an example, if you want to get published traditionally, from the outset, you can kind of format your book in the format that presses and agents want to see. You're also going to want to start thinking about your query letter for your book alongside writing your book and doing some research on the publishers and the agents that you might want to work with. Another example of how this kind of prep is important is budgeting. Say, for example, that you want to self-publish. You're going to need to understand what your budget is and how much money you can set aside, because you're going to need more professionals to help you along the process if you're not working with a traditional press. You might need to hire one or more of beta readers, editors, formatters, a book cover designer, potentially marketing professionals to help you with a successful launch. So you might want to figure out which of those things you're going to need based on your publishing plan. And then throughout your writing process, you can be researching those professionals and also setting the appropriate amount of money aside for when you get to that point in your process. The last thing you need to do before you actually start writing is make a plan for how writing this book is actually going to happen. Time and space are the most important considerations in this conversation. You're going to want to set aside a dedicated space in your home where you're going to write your book, and maybe select a few books that are similar that you might want to reference and use for inspiration, or even make a mood board that you can put up in that area to help inspire you throughout the process. Even more important than space is time. You need to decide when you're going to write this book and block it off in your calendar as if it's an appointment. In that process, you might want to also tell the people that you're around a lot, the people that you love, that you're embarking on this journey, and tell them when you're going to be doing it so that they understand that those times are kind of precious and protected for your writing. Writing is a practice like anything else. It's not something that's just easy to show up and be inspired every single day. So you need to make a dedicated commitment to yourself. All right, so as an editor, those are the things that I think you as an author need to be doing before you start writing. Let me know what your processes before you start writing are in the comments. Also, let me know if you have any questions. And if you need an editor, always feel free to reach out to me.